Well, hello everyone. Ooh, there's my purse and my straightener. I didn't even realize that I needed to adjust this before we started this. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This week, we are talking about heart health. And I am so excited because we are going to be talking with one of my favorite doctors, Dr. John Higgins. And I used to anchor the morning news, and I did the weekends also. And he was a regular guest, and he just has a wealth of information when it comes to your heart, which is extremely important. And, you know, nowadays, I would say, just from the reports, and I'm sure he'll agree, this heart health is so important, especially because the obesity rates among children, adults in general, going up, some of the highest that we've seen since recorded. So there's so much out there. There's so much marketing. You're trying to feed your child the best thing. I mean, they're not going to have salads. So what do we do? Also, let's just address the fact that this is the first day of fall, and it feels like it's the middle of dang summer. So we're going to talk about how the heat can affect your health as well. So without further ado, Dr. John Higgins is joining me. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Higgins.
Thank you, Rashi. And yes, I'm stay inside a little bit right now because it's getting hot out there.
I know. I love how your shutters are just a little bit. You know, we're not going to put them out. They're too much. So Dr. Higgins, tell me a little bit about what you do, because you have all of these letters after your name, by the way, if you look him up, and you're just kind of like mind blown. So tell me, your kind of expertise for all of our viewers out there.
Well, I'm a non-invasive cardiologist, but I have a particular interest, Rashi, in sports cardiology. So I work with a lot of the athletes, like for example the Rockets, as well as Rice Athletics, and also I have some of my patients who are athletes, and we give advice to schools about exercising and particularly in the heat is going on right now. And so I also like to promote a healthy lifestyle. And finally, Rashi, I have an interest in apps, as well as a side interest in energy drinks, because we believe that there is some concerns with energy drinks in young kids.
Yeah, and it's so prominent, I would say, in college students specifically, because not more so the grade school, but then after, you see it on college campuses for med school, for any type of school. You have to study, so you're trying to stay up late, or even for parenting, you're trying to just, be there after your work or whatever you do, and high energy for your kids if you have little kiddos or whatever. So let's first talk about heart health when it comes to heat, because that's a real issue that we deal with here in Houston.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, Rashi. So, let's just first talk about what actually happens, to the heart in hot conditions. So what's going to happen is the heart has to pump more blood, because now you've got a lot of more blood flow that has to go to the skin, because you're actually using the skin to cool you down. The sweat has to evaporate, and that helps cool you down. So automatically the heart is going to be beating a bit harder. And also, over time, you may also get a little bit dehydrated as well. And early on, you may actually get your blood pressure might drop a little bit, because now, the blood is kind of distributed a little bit more around the body. So in other words, it's a little bit more stressful on the heart during hot conditions, Rashi. And when you add exercise on top of that, then that's, extra stress. So, we definitely want to do a couple of things to try to mitigate that stress. And I use the mnemonic HEAT, HEAT, to help people to remember some of these things, Rashi. The first is going to be the H, and that's really, really important, to hydrate. So you've got to drink plenty of water before, during, and even after you exercise. The E stands for early or late in the day. So or if you're going to be doing it in the middle of the day, try to do it indoors, in air conditioning. So you want to watch out for the hottest part of the day, of course, is going to be your 10 to 2 p.m. The A stands for Acclimatize. So this is really, really important, especially for those people who are going to be, moving down to Houston. for the spring or the summer. They've relocated, and it takes about, a good 2-3 weeks to acclimatize. So while you are acclimatizing, try to, tone it down a little bit. And that's what the T stands for, tone it down. Don't do your regular workout that you have done in the cooler environment. Start off maybe 50% of that and gradually build up.
And what did you say the E was again?
Oh, the E is early or late in the day for exercise, or that's if you're doing it outside. And if you are doing it during that hot part of the day, do it inside in some air-conditioned type of environment, or in a swimming pool.
All right, awesome. Well, I tried to make this right over here to
awesome.
Make sure.
Great job.
You were doing that as well, so that we can all, know what you're talking about there.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the American Heart Association has a new definition of ideal cardiovascular health. So before we talk about that, I did have a question about, like, I send my son with a bottle of water, or, the water flask or whatever. And I know that for older children, like if they're playing sports outside or whatever, there's always water breaks. Do you think that's sufficient enough? Because, it just gets so hot.
Yeah, I think, if they do it properly, Rashi, in combination with frequent breaks. So, in really, really hot periods, we recommend no more than 15 minutes before you have a break. And, to be smart about it. So if they can, for example, be in an area where there is some shade, or even temporary shade with tarpaulins or something like that, as well as an area where there's a cool breeze, there might be a cooler area. That is also helpful. But, in terms of the water, Rashi, in the heat of the day in Houston, I mean, you can sweat up to, 2 to 3 liters per hour. So if you're really, really doing high intensity in the heat, you need to be drinking, trying to replace that. And sometimes that's not easy. But if you're smart about it, Rashi, I think it can work. The other thing, my daughter, I've got a daughter in grade 1. Her and a lot of the kids now, Rashi, have these bottles. So it's a regular drinking bottle, and then it also has a mister on it, and you push the side of the handle. Wow. And you can actually mist your face to cool it down. And like all of her friends have them. And like she was showing it to me, and she said that when they're on the, outside for playtime in recess, they will play for a bit, and then they will sit down in a shady area, and they'll all mist themselves to cool down. And that's also a really great thing you can think of. Some places, like I know some of these schools around where they're doing training, they have those big fans up, and they also have some misting where people can, cool down. And that's really, really important. And Rashi, if at any time someone is just not feeling right, the early signs of heat may be something like just cramps in the muscles. But then if someone starts noticing that they're, feeling a little bit off, maybe a bit dizzy, maybe they can't concentrate, maybe, their performance is dropping a bit, they're not performing like they normally do, that may be an early sign of dehydration and heat illness.
Yes. No, I admit I like to go running, and I was running in the heat and I had a cramp, and I'm like, just it's okay, Rashi, just keep on going. And then I started to feel a little cold, and I'm like, well, this isn't good. So let's stop. So adults also, you need to be wary of that.
Yeah.
I also wanted to, so what is the ideal cardiovascular health?
Okay. So what the AHA, Rashi, had this, what they called life's essential 7s. That was the old 7 for AHA ideal health. They've added number 8. And interestingly, number 8 is probably, a lot of people wouldn't expect this, but it's actually healthy sleep. Believe it or not, Rashi.
Oh, wow.
So what they've found is that many, many people in our society are not getting healthy sleep. And by healthy sleep for an adult, if we want to get real, that we're talking 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. And if you happen to have like a wearable device, Rashi,
Mhm.
they're all now measuring sleep, and they actually will measure what we call total quantity, but also quality of sleep. So, for example, if you're not sleeping for 15 minutes, and you're kind of tossing around, or you get up or something like that, they will actually subtract that from your total sleep. And you might be laying in the bed for 9 hours, but you may only be having 7 hours of quality sleep if you're not really sleeping. So that's really, really important for adults. For kids, it's even more.
Yeah.
They are going to be shooting for 10 to from for the 9 to 10 hours for the kids in high school, kids down to for the kindergarten level, the lower school. We're talking 10 11 12 hours. So
Wow.
that's kind of an interesting thing, and the reason they put this on the healthy definition, Rashi, is they found that if you don't get healthy levels of sleep, so if you burn the midnight oil, your blood pressure goes up, you eat unhealthy, so your cholesterol goes up, the salt will also pull up your blood pressure. You're more likely to develop insulin resistance, which then goes on to diabetes. And you're more likely to do unhealthy things like smoke or drink alcohol. So and during the day, of course, if you don't get proper sleep, your performance goes way down, both your
Yeah.
physical and your mental performance. And this can be as simple as decreased work productivity, but as bad as someone may actually because of reaction time and things, might be in a car accident, Rashi.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to cut this one short just because I have something else that I have to record, but this
Yeah.
is so great. And we will make this a regular thing because Dr. Higgins, you have such wealth of information, and thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Parent to Parent. And we hope to have you again, several more
Okay.
episodes as well. Well, thank
And
you
stay
all.
heart healthy.
Yes, stay heart healthy. I mean, that's
Okay.
always a concern for all of us, right? Well, thank you so much for joining us this week, and we will continue to talk with Dr. Higgins. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and we will talk to you soon. All right, have a